Next story. BRICS Summit 2023. BRICS Summit just happened. Argentina, Ethiopia, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia and UAE have joined BRICS group. I wonder what its name will be now, because the name has to change. Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, UAE, Brazil, China are all major oil exporters. At least China is right now. Petrodollar is a thing for now, but its days appear to be numbered. Rumors of BRICS currency turned out to be just rumors. Members are likely to trade in national currencies. There were a lot of rumors. I discussed the BRICS currency in my last episode or episode before my last episode. But usually currency bringing or making a new currency takes time. If they were planning a BRICS currency, they would have to plan it before the Russian special military operation in Ukraine. So maybe they planned it before and they were going to bring it out this year, according to rumors. Or those who were spreading the rumors were falsely spreading the rumors that the new currency will come out this year. It will not happen in just one year. This BRICS currency or any other currency will take some time to develop. India and China will engage in diplomatic talks to reduce tensions at the border, although those are going to be futile as always. Global Times just released a 2023 standard map of China showing Arunachal Pradesh, an Indian state, as part of China. Here's the full joint statement of the BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations, Cape Town, South Africa, 1st June 2023. This is the joint statement I found on the internet. The only joint statement I found on the internet. Also, this joint statement highlights all foreign policies of all the BRICS countries, the original 5 BRICS countries. Let's start with this. Number 1. The BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations met on 1st June 2023 in Cape Town, South Africa. They exchanged views on major global and regional trends and issues. They reaffirmed their commitment to strengthening the framework of BRICS cooperation under the 3 pillars of political and security, economic and financial, and cultural and people-to-people cooperation, upholding the BRICS spirit featuring mutual respect and understanding, equality, solidarity, openness, inclusiveness, and consensus. Number 2. The ministers reiterated their commitment to strengthening multilateralism and upholding international law, including the purposes and principles enshrined in the Charter of United Nations (UN) as its indispensable cornerstone, and the central role of the UN in an international system in which sovereign states cooperate to maintain peace and security, advance sustainable development, ensure promotion and protection of democracy, human rights, and fundamental freedoms for all, and promoting cooperation based on the spirit of solidarity, mutual respect, justice, and equality. This is going to be a bit boring, but there's a lot of diplomatic language in this one. I've just read out only 28 more to go. It's just a lot of diplomatic language, but if you pay attention, you will understand the foreign policy issues of all of the BRICS members, original 5 BRICS members. Number 3. The ministers expressed concern about the use of unilateral coercive measures which are incompatible with the principles of the Charter of the UN and produce negative effects, notably in the developing world. They reiterated their commitment to enhancing and improving global governance by promoting a more agile, effective, efficient, and representative and accountable international and multilateral system. Number 4. The ministers recalled UN General Assembly UNGA Resolution 75/A/1 and reiterated the call for reforms of the principal organs of the United Nations. They recommitted to instill new life in the discussions on the reform of the UN Security Council UNSC and continue the work to revitalize the General Assembly and strengthen the Economic and Social Council. They recalled the 2005 World Summit outcome document and reaffirmed the need for a comprehensive reform of the UN, including its Security Council, with a view to make it more representative, effective, and efficient, and to increase the representation of the developing countries so that it can adequately respond to global challenges. China and Russia reiterated the importance they attach to the status and role of Brazil, India, and South Africa in international affairs and supported their aspiration to play a greater role in the UN. Number 5. The ministers reaffirmed the importance of the G20 to continue playing the role of the premier multilateral forum in the field of economic cooperation that comprises both developed and developing countries, where major economies jointly seek solutions to global challenges. They look forward to the successful hosting of 18th G20 summit under the Indian G20 presidency. They noted the opportunities to build sustained momentum for change by India, Brazil, and South Africa chairing the G20 from 2023 to 2025 and expressed support for continuity and collaboration in the G20 presidencies and wished them all success in their endeavors. Number 6. The ministers called for implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in its three dimensions: economic, social, and environmental, in a balanced and integrated manner by mobilizing the means required to implement the 2030 Agenda. They highlighted in this regard that the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) Summit to be held in New York in September 2023 constitutes a unique opportunity for renewing international commitment to the implementation of 2030 Agenda. Number 7. The ministers recognized the impact on the world economy from unilateral approaches in breach of the international law, and they also noted that the situation is complicated further by unilateral economic coercive measures such as sanctions, boycotts, embargoes, and blockades. Number 8. Ministers expressed their support for the free, open, transparent, fair, predictable, inclusive, equitable, non-discriminatory, and rules-based multilateral trading system with the World Trade Organization (WTO) at its core, with special and differential treatment (S&DT) for developing countries, including least developed countries. They stressed their support to work towards positive and meaningful outcomes on the issues at the 13th Ministerial Conference (MC13). They committed to engage constructively to pursue the necessary WTO reform with a view to presenting concrete deliverables to MC13. They called for the restoration of a fully and well-functioning dispute settlement system accessible to all members by 2024, and the selection of new appellate body members without further delay. They condemned unilateral protectionist measures under the pretext of environmental concerns, such as unilateral and discriminatory carbon border adjustment mechanisms, taxes, and other measures. Number 9. They supported a robust global financial safety net with a quota-based and adequately resourced International Monetary Fund (IMF) at its center. They called on continuing the process of IMF governance reform under the 16th General Review of Quotas, including a new quota formula as a guide to be completed by December 15, 2023. Number 10. The ministers congratulated Ms. Dilma Rousseff, former president of the Federative Republic of Brazil, as president of the New Development Bank (NDB), and expressed confidence that it will contribute to strengthening the NDB in effectively achieving its mandate. They encouraged the NDB to follow the member-led and demand-driven principle, mobilize financing from diversified sources, enhance innovation and knowledge exchange, assist member countries in achieving the SDGs, and further improve efficiency and effectiveness to fulfill its mandate, aiming to be a premier multilateral development institution. Number 11. The ministers emphasized the importance of financial inclusion so that citizens can reap the benefits of economic growth and prosperity, and welcomed the new technological instruments for financial inclusion developed in BRICS countries that can contribute to ensuring the citizens' full participation in the formal economy. Number 12. Ministers underscored the importance of encouraging the use of local currencies, international trade, and financial transactions between BRICS as well as their trading partner. Number 13. Ministers emphasized that ensuring energy security is a crucial foundation for economic development, social stability, national security, and welfare of all nations worldwide. They called for resilient global supply chains and predictable, stable energy demand to ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy sources. They also stressed the importance of enhancing energy security and market stability by strengthening value chains, promoting open, transparent, and competitive markets, and ensuring the protection of critical energy infrastructure. They strongly condemned all terrorist attacks against critical infrastructure, including critical energy facilities, and against other vulnerable targets. Number 14. The ministers reiterated the objectives, principles, and provisions of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change (UNFCCC) and its Paris Agreement, in particular the principles of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities (CBDR-RC), in light of different national circumstances, must be honored. They reaffirmed their national and joint efforts to promote implementation of the Paris Agreement. In this regard, they stressed the importance of the fulfillment by developed countries of their commitments to provide technology and adequate, predictable, timely, and new and additional climate finance that is long overdue to assist developing countries to address climate change. They also expressed concern that the goal of developed countries to jointly mobilize $100 billion per year by 2020 and annually through 2025 has not been achieved, and urged developed countries to meet their commitment. They rejected attempts to link security with the climate change agenda and recalled that the UNFCCC, including the Annual Conference of Parties (COP) sessions, is the appropriate and legitimate international forum to discuss the issue of climate change in all its dimensions. Number 15. The ministers emphasized the determination to contribute successful COP28 in Dubai later this year, with a focus on implementation as the main mechanism for promoting implementation and climate action on all aspects of the Paris Agreement under the UNFCCC. The global stocktake must be effective in assessing and identifying implementation gaps on the global response to climate change, while prospectively laying the foundations for enhanced ambition by all, in particular by developed countries, and for the fulfillment of outstanding gaps in the means of implementation for mitigation and adaptation actions in developing countries. Number 16. The ministers welcome Brazil's candidacy to host COP30 as the next year 2025 will be the key to the very future of the global response to climate change. Number 17. The ministers recognize the importance of inclusion of women in peace processes, including in conflict prevention and resolution, peace building, post-conflict reconstruction and development, and sustaining peace. Number 18. The ministers recalled their national positions concerning the situation in and around Ukraine as expressed at the appropriate fora, including the UNSC and UNGA. They noted with appreciation relevant proposals of mediation and good offices aimed at peaceful resolution of the conflict through dialogue and diplomacy. They called for the full and effective implementation of both the Black Sea Grain Initiative and the Memorandum of Understanding between Russian Federation and the Secretariat of United Nations on promoting Russian food products and fertilizers to the world markets, and stressed the importance of allowing grain and fertilizers to continue to reach those most in need. Number 19. The ministers expressed serious concern over continuing conflicts in Middle East and North Africa, MENA region, and endorsed the joint statement by BRICS deputy foreign ministers and special envoys at their meeting of 2023, 16th of April. Number 20. The ministers welcomed the readmission of the Syrian Arab Republic to the League of Arab States on 7 May 2023 and reaffirmed their support to all efforts conductive to a political and negotiated solution that respects Syrian sovereignty and territorial integrity. Number 21. The ministers expressed concern about the outbreak of violence in Sudan. They urged immediate cessation of hostilities and they called for the unimpeded access of the Sudanese population to humanitarian assistance. They welcomed the efforts of the African Union, the Intergovernmental Authority for Development, the League of Arab States, the United Nations, and its Security Council in seeking solutions for the ongoing crisis. They further welcomed support rendered by various countries, international organizations, and agencies in the evacuation of foreign citizens from Sudan. Now, this is a long one. Point number 22. The ministers expressed strong condemnation of terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, whenever, wherever, and whomsoever committed. They recognize the threat emanating from terrorism, extreme conducive to terrorism, and radicalization. They are committed to combating terrorism in all its forms and manifestations, including the cross-border movement of terrorists and terrorism financing networks and safe havens. They reiterated that terrorism should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization, or ethnic group. They reaffirmed their unwavering commitment to contribute further to the global efforts of preventing and countering the threat of terrorism on the basis of respect of international law, in particular the Charter of United Nations and human rights, emphasizing that states have primary responsibility in combating terrorism, with the United Nations continuing to play a central and coordinating role in this area. They also stressed the need for a comprehensive approach for the whole international community to effectively curb terrorist activities which pose a security threat, including the present-day pandemic environment. The ministers rejected double standard in counting terrorism and extremism conducive to terrorism. The ministers called for an expeditious finalization and adoption of the comprehensive convention on international terrorism within the UN framework, and for launching multilateral negotiations on an international convention for the suppression of acts of chemical and biological terrorism at the Conference of Disarmament. They welcomed the activities of the BRICS counter-terrorism working groups and its 5 subgroups based on the BRICS counter-terrorism strategy and the BRICS counter-terrorism action plan. We also look forward to further deepening counter-terrorism cooperation. Number 23. They expressed the need to comprehensively strengthen mechanisms for countering the increased use in a globalized society by terrorists and their supporters of emerging and evolving technologies such as unmanned aerial systems, the internet, and other information and communication technologies, including social media platforms, for terrorist purposes, such as for recruitment and incitement to commit terrorist acts, as well as for financing, planning, and preparation of their activities. Number 24. The ministers called for strengthening the system of arms control, disarmament, and non-proliferation, including the Convention on the Prohibition of the Development, Production, and Stockpiling of Bacteriological, Biological, and Toxin Weapons and on their Destruction (BTWC), and the Convention on the Prohibition of the Development, Production, Stockpiling, and Use of Chemical Weapons and on their Destruction (CWC), and for preserving the integrity and effectiveness to maintain global stability and international peace and security. They underlined the need to comply with and strengthening the BTWC including by adopting a legally binding protocol to the convention that provides for inter alia and efficient verification mechanisms. The ministers reasserted their support for ensuring the long-term sustainability of outer space activities and prevention of an arms race in outer space battles and of its weaponization, including through negotiations to adopt a relevant legally binding multilateral instrument. They recognize the value of the updated draft treaty on the prevention and of the placement of weapons in outer space, the threat or use of force against outer space objects, PPWT, submitted to the Conference on Disarmament in 2014. They also stressed that practical transparency and confidence building measures, TCBMs, also contribute to Paris. Number 25. The ministers, while emphasizing formidable potential of the ICTs for growth and development, recognize new associated possibilities they bring for criminal activities and threats, and express concern over the rising level and complexity of criminal misuse of ICTs. They welcome the ongoing work in ad hoc committee to elaborate a comprehensive international convention on countering the use of ICTs for criminal purposes, and reaffirmed their commitment to cooperating in the implementation of the mandate by adopted by the UN General Assembly Resolution 75/282 in timely manner. Number 26. In line with paragraph 57 of the Beijing Declaration, ministers emphasized the responsible and ethical development and use of artificial intelligence (AI) for socio-economic development and inclusive growth of all societies. They supported communication and cooperation on AI technology to promote mutual benefits, called for strengthening AI international governance, and encouraged policy exchanges and dialogues on AI with a view to exploring to establish an effective global governance framework with the aim to protect human rights and spur innovation and economic growth. Number 27. The ministers reiterated the need for all countries to cooperate in promoting and protecting human rights and fundamental freedoms under the principles of equality and mutual respect. They agreed to continue to treat all human rights, including the right to development, in a fair and equal manner, on the same footing and with the same emphasis. They agreed to strengthen cooperation on the issue of common interest both within BRICS and in multilateral fora, including the United Nations General Assembly and Human Rights Council, taking into account the necessity to promote, protect, and fulfill human rights in a non-selective, non-politicized, and constructive manner without double standards. Number 28. The ministers noted Chair's internal report on institutional development in line with paragraphs 17(1) to 73 of the Beijing Declarations. Number 29. The ministers welcomed the Friends of BRICS on Foreign Affairs meeting on June 2, 2023. Number 30. The ministers expressed their full support to South Africa's BRICS chairship in 2023 under the theme BRICS and Africa, Partnership for Mutually Accelerated Growth, Sustainable Development and Inclusive Multilateralism. They expressed their commitment to working together to ensure the success of 15th BRICS Summit. The ministers looked forward to the next BRICS Ministers of Foreign Affairs and International Relations meeting to be held on the margins of UNGA 78 and hosted by the Russian Federation as incoming chair of BRICS in 2024. So a lot of diplomatic jargon, a lot of general vague statements, but also a lot of foreign policy objectives and interests and goals of all the original 5 BRICS members. This was long and rough.